that is three things at the beginning. You got to watch, I'm going to say, timing of meals, what's in the meals or the quality of the meal, also the quantity. And that makes sense to everybody. It's just putting those three things in motion. I'll say it again, the timing, when we eat, to keep our blood sugar at a certain level so that we can stay energized, we can stay mentally invigorated, and not lose and become so low in blood sugar levels at certain times during the day that when we do have an opportunity to eat, we way overconsume the food that's presented to us. And again, I said the quality, good food, good nutritious food, and I think that that's actually a discussion unto itself. And then the quantity. That is something that many people have to revisit, how much in their plate that they're taking. And there's a lot of places that you can get this information, but practicing it all together is key.
Well, that's great, because I've often heard that if you're dieting properly, you shouldn't be hungry all the time. I wanted to ask about how water plays a part in dieting.
Well, that's interesting, because you kind of said something together. Water plays a place in dieting in a couple of ways, one of which, when we are dieting and we are somewhat hungry and yet can attribute being a little bit hungry, living off our fat, because when we're living off our fat, we're using our stored energy, which is fat or adipose tissue, as energy. We are breaking it down and we are losing weight, and that's what we want. We want to spare the lean tissue or the muscle, break down the fat, and consequently you lose the type of weight, the fat, that we should. Now, water comes into play in that when we're doing that, we are breaking it down, and it's a little bit harder on the liver and the kidneys for just two organs there to discuss. And we need the water because what's happening is it's breaking down the fat, and what lives in the fat? The toxins. The toxins are going through, they're being processed, and it's a little bit of a dirty job for the body. So what do we need? We need to dilute it. We need to clean it out. Water. That's what we need. So one way is functional, and the other way is that, which comes from this functional need, we actually need more water and we get a little more thirsty. We get a little more thirsty, we satisfy the thirst, we're not as hungry. So as you see, it all works together.
That's pretty interesting. What would be some of the most common mistakes dieters make?
You know, in a nutshell, my first reaction to that question is preparation. In a word, again, preparation. I have people go on plans, diet plans. I don't like to use the word diet all the time. It is a four-letter word. But the program, an eating regime. And what happens is when people change, they're not prepared. And again, it's like doing anything else. It's like getting ready to go take a college course or going into a new athletic situation. You got to go and get the equipment. And when people are prepared, have the right cooking tools or the right, very important traveling tools, or even shopping for the food itself, once you have these things in place, guess what? You have them, you can make it, you can put it together, even in restaurants, to know what it is that you're going to eat or not eat. Again, being prepared. It makes a world of difference to be successful in your dieting.
So by planning ahead, you can assure that you're not going to undermine yourself in your diet plan.
It really gives you a lot better rate of success when we are prepared. Absolutely.
That's great. As a clinical nutritionist, what are some of the other things you do or treat?
Well, that's a good question. And to let you know, I don't treat a thing, not a thing. When you talk about treating something, we usually talk about treating a specific disease. That's not what I do. What I do is patients come to me, and what we do is we evaluate their entire system, pretty much. We do blood tests. We might do a urine test. Sometimes we even do a saliva test. And what we're doing is regular testing to see where the body is at, to see what it needs. For instance, many people have high cholesterol, where there's a way to eat, and there's perhaps additional supplementation that can help heal the body or help make it better or in a better homeostasis to be able to function better. Meaning, if it functions better, the cholesterol will come down. So we're evening out the whole system. We're not taking one thing, high cholesterol, hypercholesterolemia. No, I don't treat that. I treat the whole body, get it balanced, and trust me, that high cholesterol will come down to a better place.
Wow, that's amazing. So when a patient presents to you and says, I have a condition, whatever it may be, you are treating the whole person, not just for that one condition.
That's correct. What we're doing is we're looking to have the body balance out. Listen, one of the biggest things that I see consistently, I don't know if I can really recall ever getting back a vitamin D test where anybody was at the healthful limit here in the Northeast where I practice. We're not getting enough sun. We don't get ways to take in the vitamin D, let's say, as opposed to people that live towards the equator. They have a lot better natural vitamin D levels that will show up on their blood test. So that's just one little thing. Point is, what we do is we correct for that. It's very simple. It's very easy. Vitamin D supplementation in drop form or in little tiny capsules do the trick. It brings it back up. And there's been a myriad of testing and research done on vitamin D, two of which is found to be a hormone that's needed to keep other hormones going later into life and balanced if you have enough of the D, which is important, as we were saying. And secondly, it's been touted to be anti-cancer as well.
Well, that's terrific. Just a simple thing like vitamin D, not having enough, and it's really not an expensive vitamin either, but you have to really know that you're deficient.
Correct. That's why we do the straight-on medical testing, and each person becomes an individual, what they're lacking or what they maybe have in excess, and just to put their body back to a balance, whether it be hormonal or in regards to neurotransmitters or vitamins that they might be lacking or certain red blood cell problems that they may have, different things that show up on blood tests, inflammatory markers. I could actually go through the whole blood test and cite it to you, and each part we do look at and we take it under consideration, and what we do is we make sure that the person does something in regards to lifestyle and things that will help the person become more healthy. First, we look without drugs, if that's a possibility. And many times, in the relation to chronic diseases that we talk about, like, there's so many things, arthritis, gastrointestinal problems like GERD, cardiovascular disease, any things like dermatitis. I just hit different things that I said to you, but the list is much, much longer than that.
Suffice to say, though, this is not just talking about to go on a diet. This is going and getting the support to understand your specific situation, what you need in terms of nutrition, in relationship to your care from your physician, in relationship to the actual test you're going to look at, such that you can prescribe the appropriate course of action and then monitor it and coach the individual.
Well, that's exactly what we do. You just said it. We get initial findings that we have. Usually I'm fortunate enough to work with some very, very wonderful integrative practitioners here in the state of New Jersey. They do refer a lot of their patients to me, and I've got a myriad of wonderful testing that they do already. From that, there's usually problems that we fight. It does have to do very much with food, and it's not all about calorie restriction, though. They are finding straight across the board that less calories in general, and this was just a test that was done in some recent research, and across the board they're finding people that take in a little less calories, even less than their basal metabolic rate demands, which is a number that every person has that you can calculate, and each person's is different, and it's the amount of calories needed for someone to function without extra activity, just to breathe, to sleep, to eliminate, for heartbeat, and things like that, just to exist. They're finding that if you keep the calories in a day just slightly lower, that actually extends the lifespan of a person. So it's not just about calories for weight loss. It's about calorie adjustment, let's say, for health. It's about some supplementation, which I call supplementation for transformation to a better health state. And it's about activity. It's not always about exercise. Some people just aren't, that's not their thing. But there is some movement in different ways that I like to see people do. For instance, breathing. So many of us, I know that might sound very simple, and it is. And it's a wonderfully simple thing, but that wonderfully simple thing has become a situation where people breathe shallow. 24/7. So to teach people how to breathe again, to bring down a little bit of tension and maybe help with their stress during the day, and then ultimately help in the long term with their overall stress, is a wonderful thing, and it changes some of their health status.
That absolutely is very interesting, that people are breathing shallow. I guess we're not running from something chasing us anymore so much, so I guess we're not having to breathe as deep.
Exactly.
Doctor, this has been a great discussion, and you shared so many ideas and such wonderful insight.